The ring is more real than you think. The author of the original novel, Suzuki Koji, didn't just invent a monster. He took 3 real cases from Japanese history and combined them to form one of the most terrifying monsters in fiction. Before starting to write the novel, Suzuki researched the dark and strange history of Japan. During his research, he stumbled upon a story of a woman who claimed to have psychic powers in the 1910s of Japan. Her name, Chizuko Mifune. The mother in Sadako's story, Chizuko. Only 1 syllable different. He copied the story almost word for word. It started with a missing 50 yen. 1908, a 22-year-old woman named Mifune Chizuko tells her husband exactly where his missing money is, inside the family's Buddhist altar. She's right. Her in-laws accuse her of hiding it herself. The marriage falls apart. Back at her family home, her brother-in-law, a hypnosis obsessive, puts her in a trance and tells her she can see through solid objects. She starts passing every test he runs. A mining company hires her to locate coal underground. She finds it and gets paid the equivalent of 200 million yen. Word reaches Tokyo. A psychology professor at Tokyo Imperial University, Japan's most elite institution, hears about her. His name is Fukurai. He tests her privately. She performs, and he believes every bit of it. He goes public. September 15, 1910. Chizuko is brought before Japan's top academics. The test: read characters sealed inside a lead pipe without opening it. She gets it right, twice, but the characters she named matched Fukurai's practice materials, not the actual test materials. Nobody could prove she cheated. The press didn't need proof. Within days, she's a national fraud, her face on every newspaper. The humiliation is total. 4 months later, January 19, 1911, she took her own life. She was 24. So Chizuko came from Kumamoto, which is in Kyushu, at the very bottom of Japan. A poor girl from the countryside develops psychic abilities. She realized she can do certain things other people cannot do. And she starts making money with this ability. So she goes to Tokyo and she thinks she can make it. She thinks she can become some media sensation. And she truly believes in her ability and she wants to show it to the whole world. Maybe partly inspired by the professor. But the media mocks her as a fraud and this hurts her so much she takes her own life. This is the exact same story as in The Ring. Word for word, identical. So Suzuki-san, the author of The Ring, didn't just make things up. He literally put real life events in his book. Even the name is the same, Chizuko and Chizuko. He only changed 1 syllable of the name. And even more weird, Sadako is also real. But here's what nobody talks about. After Chizuko was gone, Fukurai kept working, found new subjects, kept testing. One of them, years later, her name was Sadako Takahashi. The name of the most iconic character in the Ring franchise, taken from a real woman who worked with a real professor who destroyed Chizuko. Suzuki didn't build this world, he found it. In the novel, Chizuko jumps into a volcano on her birthplace of Izu Oshima. Why Izu Oshima? What if I told you this is also real? That in the 1930s Japan, a woman really did jump into a volcano, and then over 2,000 people followed her into the same death. The tragedy spread like a virus of the mind. Did you know Tokyo has an island 2 hours away by ferry, Izu Oshima Island? In the 1930s, 944 people jumped into a volcano there in a single year. That number, 944 people in 1933 alone, that isn't random. It happened because of one person. On February 12, 1933, a 21-year-old university student named Kyoko Matsumoto jumped into Mount Mihara's crater. She had been in a relationship with a female classmate. In 1933, in Japan, this was forbidden. She left a letter. It said, "Dearest, I'm bewildered to distractions by the perplexities of maturing womanhood. I can stand the strain no longer. What shall I do? I should like to jump into a volcano." Her goodbye note was reprinted in the newspapers across Japan. Her classmate, Masako Tomita, told everyone at school what happened. The story spread. Kyoko Matsumoto became a celebrity. And then people started arriving. 3 things created the epidemic. First, the media. Newspapers sensationalized the story. They ran dramatized pieces about the dangers of same-sex relationships. They printed her a farewell note. They made her death romantic. They made it mean something. Second, people had been blocked from other methods. Tokyo had put barriers on skyscrapers to prevent high-rise suicides. Mount Mihara became the alternative, the accessible way out. Third, the romanticization stuck. Young people read the story. They saw Matsumoto as tragic, as choosing love over society. They decided to follow her example. Within months, Mount Mihara became a destination. Ferry companies set up daily steamship lines. The fishing community prospered. Tourists arrived to watch. Local guides organized sightseeing tours to the volcano. People rode donkeys up the mountain, specifically to stand at what became known as Suicide Point. By December 1933, over 500 had jumped. By the end of 1930s, over 2,000. The media kept covering it. Each death got attention. Each attention spawned more deaths. The cycle fed itself. This history is so culturally significant in Japan that it entered fiction. Koji Suzuki wrote his novel Ring in 1991. The story centered on a cursed videotape that kills whoever watches it 7 days later. At the core of the curse is Sadako Yamamura, and before her, her mother Chizuko. In the novel, Chizuko Yamamura was a psychic from Izu Oshima. She predicted the eruption of Mount Mihara with her psychic powers. When her brother leaked this prediction to the press, she became famous overnight. At Tokyo University, a professor named Dr. Heihachiro Ikuma, intrigued by her abilities, began a relationship with her. Then she performed a public demonstration of telepathy, which she failed. The press branded her a fraud. Depressed, Chizuko eventually returned to Oshima Island and committed suicide by jumping into Mount Mihara. Sadako comes from a well. Why a well? Why the long hair? This image of a long-haired ghost emerging from a well has been burned into the Japanese mind since ancient times. Suzuki drew from a horrifying real case where a servant of a samurai was pushed down a well for a simple mistake. A samurai wanted her. She refused, so he tortured her and threw her into a well, alive. Her name was Okiku. She worked for a samurai named Aoyama at Himeji Castle. He tried to force her into a relationship. She kept refusing, so he set a trap. He hid one of the 10 Dutch porcelain plates, rare enough in Edo period Japan that losing one meant death. Then he accused her of losing it and gave her a choice: submit or be punished. She refused. He tied her up, dunked her into the castle well, pulled her out, beat her, and forced her to count the plates, 1 through 10. Every time she counted, she only got to 9, because he still had the 10th. She could never prove herself innocent. He struck her with his sword and dropped her into the well. From inside the well at night, people hear her counting 1, 2, 3, up to 9. Then she stops and screams. The well she died in still exists. It's at Himeji Castle. You can visit it. According to some versions of the story, anyone who heard the full count died shortly after. The only way to stop it, wait until she reaches 9 and shout 10. Her ghost, finally believing the plate was found, goes quiet. There's no confirmed record of Okiku as a real person, but the story appears consistently from at least the early 1700s, across multiple regions with the same core details intact. Same castle, same plates, same count. It first appeared as a formal puppet play in 1741, then kabuki, then woodblock prints, and in 1795 something strange happened. Old wells across Japan suffered a larvae infestation. A specific butterfly, chrysalis, covered in thin threads, looked like a bound woman. People called it Okiku mushi, the Okiku insect. Shopkeepers near Himeji Castle sold them as souvenirs. Whether Okiku was real or not, something kept making the story feel like it might be. Sadako, the girl from the ring, is literally built from Okiku, same murder method. Thrown into a well, rising from it afterward. Same structure, trapped, unresolved, repeating. The curse doesn't just punish one person, it spreads to everyone who encounters it. Which is Okiku's logic extended. She doesn't only haunt the man who killed her, she haunts everyone who hears her count. Ju-on works the same way. A violent event happens once, but it never stays in the past. Anyone who enters that space gets pulled into the same loop. Dark water, one missed call, Cairo. All of them follow it. This is what every one of those stories has in common, and it all traces back to Okiku. The horror isn't the ghost, it's the structure. An event happens, it doesn't resolve, it repeats indefinitely, pulling in anyone who gets close. No catharsis, no ending, no 10, just 9, and a scream, and it starts again. That's why the story is still here, not because it was proven, but because the loop never closes. In my videos, I often talk about the bigger underlying issue rather than just the event or the monster. When Suzuki first started writing his novel, he had an idea not just of a monster, but of a curse that acts like a virus. After listening to today's story, you will realize this is very much true in real life. Japanese media has historically had a pattern of spreading rumors and stories that then led to mass panic. The Mount Mihara case, the Sakatayama case, the Kochisake Onna fears, all of them started from a single story blown out of proportion. I think Suzuki's message would be the same, how one story or one tape can spread and infect people with the same curse.